Anthony with the pump fake and one dribble inside to the long two, and he makes it. That's been his game his whole career. But look at him smiling. We go, my bad. The long two.
Welcome everyone to another episode of The Long Two. I am Pete Rogers. He is Natty Wallach. And we are a Carmelo Anthony podcast that occasionally talks fantasy basketball. Natty, how you doing today?
I'm well, Pete. How you doing?
I'm good. We are currently sitting in the midst of a snowstorm, but
Really?
it was really hot. We had like 60 as a high last week, and now we're, probably about 10 degrees and have an off and on blizzard. But it's not bad. It's nice. I made a fire, cuddled up by it, spent most of the day doing that, watched some Wally, and it's been a pretty good Sunday so far.
That sounds blissfully domestic. I'm glad you guys are okay and all cuddled up.
Oh yeah. Well, Becca's in the throes of law school, so I am all nice and cuddled up with our dog Bert while she has to do all of her work and stuff. So I am blissfully, I'm having a blissful weekend.
Good for you, buddy. Congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm happy
you.
for you.
Thank
Applause.
you.
Underlined.
I'm doing great. I am doing great. Well, we as a show are also doing great.
Ooh.
Thank you. Thank you. We I like to think of us as an ever evolving entity, Natty. Obviously, we talk basketball, but how we talk basketball, well, it comes to you, the people, how you want it to be heard. And so last week's episode, we gave our top players to be buying and selling in fantasy basketball. And you know what? Got a lot of ears, a lot of downloads, a lot of listens. And so we figured we're gonna promote the fantasy basketball content. That's what you want. That's what you're here for. I know sometimes we talk about it. We're gonna talk about it more, and we're gonna put that in the first, push that to the forefront. And so we're going to start talking pretty regularly about waiver wire ads and players who you can be getting off waivers. And we have tiers of that. And so we have our dunks, whom are players who are rostered in roughly 70%, 70 and under ESPN leagues. We have our layups, 50% and under. Open threes, 35% and under, and then our long twos, 20% and under rostered. This will give you guys sense whether or not you're in a super huge deep league where you're constantly looking for bargains off of the waiver wire, guys who are, 20 and under percent rostered, or maybe it's just a league with just you, some of your friends from high school or college, and there's a lot of guys still on the waiver wires, and it's all about just snagging the right guy for the right time. And you might be able to have a lot of still pretty big name guys on the waiver wire. Hopefully we're going to cover and talk about those who you should be targeting. Natty, do you want to start with the dunks and work our way down, or do you want to start with the long two and work our way up?
No, I think we start with dunks. Let's slam it home and then drift out to the perimeter.
Perfect. Well, I'll start us off then. My dunk for this week, Aaron Gordon has quasi-returned to basketball. And last time I checked, he's about 68% rostered in ESPN. So if you can get him, go get him. He has been out since the beginning of February with an ankle injury, and he came back Thursday, only played 14 minutes, 9 points, 2 boards, 1 block, 3 fouls, which is an A+ stat line from him. Just, you love that foul production for if you're playing in a foul heavy fantasy basketball league, which I don't know about you, Natty. I play in a league where fouls are plus 10 fantasy points. And so, if you can get a guy who can get a lot of personal fouls, that's the cream of the crop in fantasy.
I don't play in that league. I sure wish I did, because I'm basically, yeah.
That would be an absurd league. Aaron Gordon right now is day to day.
Fun. It would be incredible. You'd pick up dudes you'd never pick up in any other league.
Never. Kyle Lowry would be actually a really good, because he doesn't draw that many fouls. He draws a lot.
Dwight would be highly owned. His fouls
Dwight
per minute would probably be up there, top 5 at least.
Yeah, that's a good one. Right now, Aaron Gordon is day to day, but if you can handle a player who's out, maybe you have a roster who has been blessed and you don't have a lot of injuries. pretty much everyone in fantasy at this point, with COVID and just with the shortened season. I know I am have 4 guys on my roster who are injured. So if you are someone with maybe 1 or 2 guys on your roster who are injured, you can handle a guy who maybe might be a little slow coming back, but on the season, he's averaging 13.8 points, 7.2 boards, 4.2 assists, and 1.7 stocks. That was what he was averaging before he got injured. Only Durant, Giannis, Luka, the honeypot, LeBron, Harden, Sabonis, Siakam, Bam, and Ben LaMelo Ball, Light, Simmons are averaging that stat line this year. So Aaron Gordon, if you can, add him and wait for him to get healthy and reap the benefits.
I like that. Plus, we don't know if the Magic will sell any of their perimeter players. It seems like they've said they won't. They like their team, and they just had bad luck this year, so they want to see what the fully healthy roster can do next year. But someone godfathers you for one of these wing dudes that you don't really need that bad, then maybe they'll take them up on it. Or maybe, somebody else on the team. Vooch has been great. MCW. So the Magic, I have no idea what to do with them. They're just the least lucky team ever this year.
So
Jonathan Isaac is back next year, but Aaron Gordon has never really materialized into the player that we thought he would be, or that we were excited that his ceiling could be. He's still young, but he also seems like a guy who could use a change of scenery.
Totally.
It's possible he gets traded, and maybe his role would change, except with how thin the Magic have been. I sort of feel like Aaron Gordon, this is where he can get his most shot attempts and maybe most volume. But I don't know. I like Aaron Gordon. I still think he's a good player, and definitely pick him up before he starts playing well as he gets healthy, because he'll shoot up 10 points at least, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I like him. I do think that he does need a change of scenery, and even if that means a reduced role, I think that I just feel like he is a perfect player 3 or even player 4 on a title team, not a player 2. And so, I mean, the dream for me is obviously let's somehow get him onto the Celtics, because I think he helps a lot in terms of just lineup flexibility for the Celtics. But anyways,
and his defense is quality,
right? Exactly.
That's the thing that is probably most attractive to other teams right now that are trading for him. They're not going to trade for him to score.
No. He feels like a guy who, on a different team, if he were to get traded, or if the Magic were to have a non-cursed season when they were able to fully be healthy, and we could see what this team actually was in its creation.
Sad,
so sad. I think he would be a player who a lot of people would be would garner a lot of national pub, and people would be like, oh, wow, where was this Aaron Gordon before? It's it's been there. It's just the pieces haven't always fit together. And hopefully at some point in his career, they will, both between his talent, but then also the setting and the role that he has on the team. Natty, what's your dunk for this week?
My dunk is a guy you made fun of me last week for slightly, gently, politely criticizing, maybe, ? Just a little bit. Our icon, Carmelo, who this week passed Hakeem Olajuwon for 11th place in career points in NBA history. He is now only behind Elvin Hayes at 10. I do think that Melo will get into the top 10 in total points ever, and that's crazy. That's for sure Hall of Fame. In the meantime, he has been great for the Trailblazers this year. He's top 100 on the season in Fantasy Basic. He's been the 62nd best player over the past month. Against Minnesota the other night, he had 26 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. So he can still bring it when he needs to, and he's needed to because Gary Trent Jr. has been in a bit of a slump, shooting only 32% from outsides over the past month. Over the last 30 days, Melo's 15-plus points per game, 3-plus boards, 2-plus dimes, 1-plus steal. He's taking over 4 deep shots and hitting them at 37%. Only 21 players are doing that on the season. So that kind of production is useful right now. Ride it while you can. Ride it before CJ comes back. Of the 21 players that are doing that on the year, Evan Fournier is the least rostered at 70%. Everybody else is 80 to 90. So he's producing right now like a top 75 player, which he is over the past month, and you should just ride it. Also because he's great, and fuck you, Pete.
Okay, yes. You said
would you like to say
him.
Don't pick him up? Would you like to take my position?
Of course you pick up Carmelo Anthony. Come on. I have in one of my leagues, I have had him for 2 years now. My team is named after him. We are the Hoodie Mellows.
Nice.
And currently though, I'm on a 2-game losing streak, but still,
that's not his fault. That's management. Look in the mirror,
right,
Pete.
It's not his fault. I know. That team, it's hurt by the fact that Christian Wood is out. And then I also have Karis LeVert, who's slowly coming back. But
yeah, welcome back, Karis LeVert.
I know.
That's awesome.
Super awesome. I'm very happy for him. But yes, Carmelo Anthony has been, and I saw someone tweeted about this, and then Isaiah Thomas quote tweeted it, and basically was just like, we missed a year of Carmelo because the computers were like, Carmelo can't play anymore, or Carmelo is useless on the court. And sometimes, you guys, in order to prevent the robot uprising, we have to put computers in their place and tell them that they are wrong and trust our eyes rather than computers. Just the thought.
See, that's funny because I savvy that emotion, but I disagree with the argument. Like, Melo wasn't exiled because of the analytics. He was exiled because the Houston Rockets threw him under the fucking bus during their slow start.
And who better represents analytics than the then Houston Rockets? That was, if the Houston
the
Rockets,
Daryl Morey team.
Exactly. Analytics had a mascot. It was the Daryl Morey Houston Rockets. So basically analytics threw him under the bus.
But analytics is just another way to say data and information. You're just looking at what happens. It's just a bigger, deeper, wider box score. That's all that it is. And how you use analytics is what people are really criticizing, I think. And Carmelo is a player that can help a team win if he's in the correct situation. That doesn't necessarily mean coming off the bench or starting. It just means, like, you can't assume he will be able to do the things that he's shown he can. Like, you're not putting him on your team because you need a defensive stopper. You're there to score points. You need him to score points. That's what he's been doing for Portland while they've missed all these other players. And his offensive contributions in the right setting are more valuable than his enormous holes on defense. Yeah. So as a regular season player, he's a magnificent addition. And if the fucking Rockets hadn't just completely scapegoated him 2 years ago and just kept him until they got healthy and he didn't have to do as much, then who knows? Like, maybe the team would have been better.
But on the flip side, maybe that year off is what Melo needed, and he wouldn't be on the Trailblazers, which honestly is like, can you think of a better landing spot for him right now?
They've needed him like more than most any other team.
Than any other team would. Yeah. Because the thing is like the Trailblazers are this perfect blend of stupidly injured but playoff determined, Whereas, like, if he was on like the Magic, right? Exactly. Right. If he was like on the Magic or any other team that was like crippled with injuries, the Magic are like, playoffs would be great, but I mean, are we going to like break limb to get there? Whereas like the Trailblazers, when you have, as long as Dame's on the court, you're a playoff team. And so Melo has just been, it has been the prime spot for him. I have been riding the Melo wave this entire season, fantasy. You should as well. Don't listen to Natty. You should never, ever trade him.
26-2-6 against Minnesota in a game that I don't think Dame played. Like, that's a game they needed Melo to be Melo, and he was, and they won.
You damn
he's
right.
A top 100 player on the season, by the way. And he's what? I think he's 50% owned. Exactly.
And he's Carmelo fucking Anthony. What more do you need?
So, slam dunk. Go get yourself some counting stats.
Slam dunk. All right, let's go to some layups. For me, my layup this week is the Steel King returning, Larry Nance Jr., 55% rostered. He's returning from finger surgery. He had 11 points, 4 boards, and 1 assist and 1 block in his first game back. Points wise, he's not going to wow you. He's averaging 9.4 points, 6.7 boards, 3.1 assists, but you love to see 1.9 steals, and that's gone down a little bit since he hasn't played a lot. But before he got injured, he was averaging over 2 steals a game. So that kind of defense, you love to see. He's also a guy, I mean, I didn't intend this to be the Pete would love to see on the Boston Celtics, but
sure. Of course,
Larry Nance has also been in trade rumors, and if he gets traded, who knows what role he could walk himself into. You could see that points, you could see those boards produce, rise, but at the very least, you can trust that he's going to get you. I think he's a pretty reliable double-digit scorer, and he's going to get you 5+ boards, but he's also going to get you 2.5+ stocks, and that is therein lies the real fantasy value.
He's a guy like Enes Kanter, where if you just give him the minutes, he'll give you the stats. Perfect. I'm a little concerned with it. I love him, and I think any team that has him would be happy about it. He seems to be just an awesome locker room dude and a guy that tries hard. Like, you can literally see him trying hard in every game.
Right.
And he can play up or big. So I think he's only like 6'8" or 6'9", but you can put him in the front court totally fine. I'm a little worried about Cleveland in minutes because Kevin Love is now back. So while K Love isn't going to be playing 30 minutes a game, it still sort of crowds the front court a little bit with Jared Allen and Nance. So, I mean, you can stagger those minutes real easily, but, I wonder if Nance is actually they re-signed him. Cleveland did. It sort of seemed like they wanted to keep him long-term. It's not like he's old and he's a pretty good player. So all the trade rumors, I don't know, maybe Cleveland's going to be like, fuck y'all. We're keeping him. We like him as the complement or heir to K-Love. And I think you can play him at the 3. Nance, if you have to.
They did that.
It might be slow, but
they did that. I feel like on Love's first game, when K-Love first came back, I thought they started Nance at the 3, Love at the 4, then Allen at the 5. I could be wrong, but I thought that was their lineup.
And you can, have Nance go to the 5 when you want to play small. He's a versatile player. He is definitely useful and doesn't need to score. So he would be absolutely perfect for Boston.
Oh my God. Yeah. I just feel like Cleveland they have that surplus of big, and I feel like they're going to make a move. Now that move could just be Andre Drummond, who they've already just benched. And so maybe that's not really changing too much in terms of what their front court is looking like. But I do think that there's a lot of guys there. Jared Allen is clearly, that's the cornerstone, in my opinion. They've been trying to move Kevin Love for eons. But maybe it's Larry Nance who gets moved, or maybe they finally do move K-Love, and then, Larry Nance is now stepping into a very large role. But even still, regardless, what you said, the defense, the stocks, is going to be reliably there. And if he does get more minutes for any reason, the counting stats will increase too. And you're going to get a top 100 player, no doubt.
Yeah, he's definitely a player who should play 30+ minutes a game. He should have a big role. Not in the shot portfolio necessarily, but he does seem like a good complementary player and the sort of guy that you can depend upon. Like I said, he plays hard even on this ridiculous team. So yeah, Cleveland is crowded. Isaac Okoro is there, and I love him. They suddenly have a lot of players. It's weird.
Cleveland, low-key got a good future. Now that this Sexland backcourt has kind of figured its shit out, maybe I feel like suddenly this team has a little more wind in their sails than previously, when we were like, how the flying fuck is Colin Sexton and Darius Garland going to work together? And seems like it's working.
Well, they have a rough week ahead of them, which is why one of them is my dud.
Ooh,
look at that
teasing.
Yeah, you're right. You have to wait for it though.
Give me your layup for the week.
Okay, my layup is one of our old boyfriends, the assassin Duncan Robinson. He's 46% owned. He has been a top 100 player over the past month. And that's good because he's been a top 100 player on the season, number 99 on the player rater. He is the 17th best true shooting percent. He has the 17th best true shooting percentage of all players who average 33 plus minutes and take 9 plus shots per game, which means you're out there on the court all the time and you get a solid complement of shots. He's 17th best in true shooting percentage, right next to Dame. And only 8 players are taking more threes than Duncan does. He attempts 8.4 3-point attempts per game. He shoots them at a better rate than just about anybody. He's not as sniper as he was last year, but he's been doing better in March for the small sample size. He is going to end the year as a top 100 player. He's third in minutes per game on Miami. They absolutely need him. Tyler Hero has had a slump year, which is surprising.
Couldn't have predicted that.
Right. And so Duncan is one of the most consistent outside perimeter threats in the NBA. That means he will get his shots. So under 50%, I mean, I think he should be 20% more owned. Like I would not trade him for, you'd have to really wow me, because if he gets on a roll and then he starts hitting on his threes back to 44% like last year, then he's lights out and he's a top 40 player.
Yeah, he is the 3-point shooter for the Heat. He is averaging 8.4 attempts per game from downtown, and Kelly Olynyk is number 2 with 5.8 attempts. So like the Heat,
isn't that something?
Isn't it? Good old Kelly shooting 33% on the year. All right, Kels.
It's just so funny. Like,
I see you, Kels. But yeah, so like that is a role that the Heat need him to play at. At no point is he going to, is someone going to surpass him, or is he not going to take a lot of 3-point shots? So that's always great. And he does have a little Klay Thompson in him, where if he gets hot, like he's going to go, 10 for 13, and you're suddenly on, you suddenly have let me do some quick math, 30-point game on your hands. Look at that.
Nice job.
10 times 3, this guy dropping some calculator knowledge. So he's always a chance to, get hot from downtown, and a guy who shoots well and shoots pretty exclusively from downtown. If the shot starts falling, you're going to have a big game point wise. And he does some other things too. He gets you, a couple boards, and I would love to see more stocks from him. But right now he's just, catch and shoot 3 guy, and you can never have enough of those guys on your roster, especially if they're one of the best shooters in the league.
Right. He's a sniper. His defense will get better with age, but it's not like he's some super athletic perimeter defender that doesn't need to be scoring in order to have value. But when you're one of the best shooters in the league, you're fucking worth your weight in gold. So he is on a team that needs his kind of scoring, and so he has safe minutes minutes and safe shots.
And that's the kind of shit you love. All right, we have 2 more waiver wire categories to talk, and then we're also going to do some DFS chatter. But before we do, let's take a quick ad break. All right, we are back. My open 3. These are guys who are rostered in 35 or less percent, or fewer, percent of ESPN leagues. I know he has been. I don't know if you're still dating him, Natty, but Will Barton, an old boyfriend of yours, I know.
Emphasis on old.
Ooh, a rocky breakup, I heard. But let me tell you about Will Barton's last 6 games. He's averaging 32 minutes per game, 17.2 points, 5.2 boards, 3.2 assists, 1.5 stocks, while shooting 47% from 3. Back-to-back 20-point plus games coming out of the All-Star break. Love to see it. Love to see it. The counting stats are down this season from last season, but he's still been a top 120 player on ESPN Player Rater this year. If those numbers for any reason take a step forward and go back to what they were last year, he was averaging 15 a game last year. I think this year he's averaging 12. Obviously, that's great for his fantasy value, but still, 32% rostered in ESPN. He's a top 120 player on the year. He's starting off the second half of the year out of the All-Star break on fire with 20-plus games. Certainly worth a guy to maybe just stream this week and see how long this heat stretch can ride. And you might just find him being like, you know what, he's putting up reliable, good stats. That's always my favorite for me, is when I add a player with the intent on streaming him. And I know sounds blasphemous for you, but at the beginning of the year, early into the season, I added Kyle Anderson in that exact role, where I was just like, I know you'd be like, how could you add Kyle Anderson for anything other than like the rest of your life? And the thought of adding him as a streamer is just absurd to you, but added him as a streamer. And then like 2 weeks later, I was like, oh shit, Kyle Anderson is still on my roster. Oh shit. And he's still giving me like 17 fantasy points a game. I'm not going to get rid of him now. And I feel like
you have no idea how he does it. Like, I watch a bunch of those games because I love the players. And it's like, he's 5 minutes behind everybody else. It's some reverse flash shit. It's nuts, man.
Yeah, he is. I watched the Celtics played Memphis a while ago and watching Kyle Anderson play. And it really is just like, wow, you are playing at a speed that doesn't exist in the NBA anymore.
Dude, it's like watching Jamie Moyer on the Phillies when he was like in his middle 40s and just throwing changeups and like location with his quote unquote fastball. I love Kyle Anderson. He's not on my long time like main dynasty team anymore, which I hate, but I love that team. And I think that he's such a weird pitch in the arsenal of that team that they love playing him. They just he fucks works with people's tempo. He really, really does.
Yeah, he does. Anyways, to sum up Will Barton, I feel like Will Barton can have that same thing.
Right. Sorry.
It's always a good sign when I'm like pitching you a player and then we just spend most of the time talking about a totally different player.
Well, Kyle Anderson is 24, 25, and Will Barton is 30, which knocked my fucking socks off when I saw that.
Yeah.
But he seems healthy.
Anyways,
if he keeps playing like these first the All-Star break, where he looks energetic and totally healthy, then he's going to be a steal. And goddamn, do the Denver Nuggets need a little bit of good luck? Gary Harris still isn't back.
Him looking like last year Will Barton, or even just like a slightly better, like if he looks anything like he has looked out of the All-Star break, that's huge for the Nuggets. Like that is exactly what the Nuggets need in terms of real basketball. And in terms of fantasy basketball, your fantasy roster probably needs him too, so you should go at him.
Right. A good complementary piece is like Chris Middleton is the extreme complementary piece. A guy that shoots, elite ratio level from the field, from three, from the line, who you always know will get you such and such points, such and such boards, such and such assists, consistency, like you said, people you can depend on. And if Will Barton becomes that guy again after, ups and downs, he's had an ups and downs, peaks and valleys career, really. But yeah, I used to love him. We were attached at the hip. Things went sideways. I would love to see him do well.
Good. Look at you. What an amicable split. Like you guys had maybe a rough patch afterwards, and that always happens. Like any kind of breakup, there's lingering resentment, and you just you've been thinking the worst of someone, or just like tensions have risen to a point. And then what's nice is hopefully you come back 2, 3, 4, however many years or time afterwards, and you realize, hey, you know what? We just weren't right for each other, but it doesn't make us bad people. And we'd love to get to know each other as friends now. And I feel like that's where you and Will Barton are at right now. And I commend you for it.
I mean, I was right. He was wrong. So I'm glad that he's
I don't know how that's going to work for your friendship. That seems like underlying tension still.
So he's rostered in my main league, my old time one. And I'm not jealous. I'm just happy for the other owner and for Will. Like, that's great. Do well. I'm so glad. That's awesome. Good for you guys. You made it work.
Good. That's nice. That's a
Isn't
good
that
place
big
to
of
be.
me? That's really
big of you. You know what? Round of applause for Natty for
thank you.
Bringing that relationship full
that.
circle. Well done. Give me your open 3 for this week.
My open 3 is a guy with a pretty nice true shooting percentage of 65% over the
You're
last month.
all about that TS, baby.
Well, so some people are, effective field goal. Some people are true shooting. Some people don't care. I find that true shooting is at just anecdotally for me, like a little bit more predictive and has helped me do well in fantasy leagues. So that's why I depend upon it. Jalen Brunson of the Dallas Mavericks, who is a top 125 player over the past month. He's under 25% owned. He's third in points per game for Dallas over the past month. Third. And he's 3+ assists on the season. He can give you big volume when he starts or when he gets minutes. They have absolutely needed him.
Yep.
He's become one of the most efficient scorers for a guy that, no one knew his name. And I think there are just big things in his future. He seems to be a dude that knows how to fucking read the geography of the court and the geometry. Like he's been really impressive, I think. He's not a typical dude that you'd feel, he's not wowing you like some big wing, but every time he's had an opportunity, I think he's done pretty well. He's had some duds, but you're a young player and you're not playing with the stars all the time. So he's coming off the bench, but when he's started, he's given you 20+ point games. I love him. I think that he's another guy with safe minutes. Mm-hmm. And when you're a young player who can sniff the top 100, then that's someone worth investing in.
Yeah. Last 12 games, 16 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, 28 minutes.
And, these don't have to be like long-term dynasty ads. These can be streamer pickups,
he's a perfect streamer guy. Well, and the thing too is it's just like, as you get further and further down your waiver wire, you're not going to find a guy who's going to get you 3 or 2 different categories reliably. If you find those guys, at 10% rostered, well, maybe you need to reconsider who you're playing with.
Or double down. Be like, we should put money in this, don't you think?
So no, I like that. I know you're a big Jalen Brunson fan, and I think you're totally right too. As this Mavericks team, we've talked about them in the past. They've been trying to figure out what they are, and luckily now for them, Kristaps has started to play a little bit better, and become a little more of an offensive threat alongside Luka. But I think the emergence of Jalen Brunson has also really helped and has given this team a much more even attack in terms of offense, like who to stop on offensively. Obviously, Luka is still the epicenter, but no longer is he like the sole provider. Tim Hardaway Jr., Kristaps is now coming back, and then with Jalen Brunson there, you got 4 guys who can all put up 20 on any given night. So I like it.
Just think about Jalen Brunson as like, this is the new JJ Barea. This is the type of player that Carlisle depends upon, that Carlisle likes having, a spark plug of energy, a guy that can read the floor, a guy that, hopefully won't fuck up too much, and that can move the game. He can up the tempo or he can bring it down. Like he's a smart player and he picks his shots and he's very efficient at them. So I love the opportunity when you're, like you said, when you're looking down through the waiver wire, what you're really looking for is who's getting minutes, who's getting shots, and who's doing things with them. So the, roster percentage doesn't tell the whole picture. He should definitely be rostered higher than this.
Fully agreed. All right, let's wrap up with our long twos, guys who are rostered in 20% or less of fantasy leagues. I'm sure this guy will be well past 20 by the time you listen to this, but he's under 20 now, so I'm putting him there. Dwight Howard, 19% rostered in ESPN. Joel Embiid is out for 2 to 3 weeks with a knee injury. Obviously, this means Dwight Howard is going to be stepping into a much larger role. On the year, he's averaging 6.4 points, 7.5 boards, and 1.3 stocks on only 16 minutes. But his 2 games post the break, 21 minutes, 12 points, 11 boards, 2 stocks. Like, he's going to get you a double-double. He's going to get you some defense. And if you play in that all-elusive 10 points for personal fouls, Dwight Howard is now a top 5 fantasy player for you. So he is a guy who you should 100% be rostering and streaming for as long as Joel Embiid is out and missing time.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more, especially because I'm not sure if Ben Simmons is back from COVID tracking and tracing yet. Like this.
Oh, that's
this
true.
Might,
'Cause of the
this might be
All-Star, they
Dwight
both
time.
got. Oh my gosh, you're
Right.
totally
I forget
right.
when
I
he
forgot
comes
about
back,
that.
but like Ben Simmons isn't sick and he's not hurt. So he will be coming back. I just forget when it is. But in the meantime, Dwight's just throwing bows. And yeah, like it's fun having a dirty player on your team, like an inoffensive dirty player, just a guy who's out there to be a hockey player and beat the shit out of other people. And Dwight has definitely taken up that role this year.
Dwight's doing that.
Okay, my long two, and remember, this is the least efficient shot in the game, but that's only true if you can't hit them.
And it's also the most efficient shot in our hearts.
That's right. This podcast reflects that belief. I am going with a strict volume play. We're going back to Orlando. Michael Carter Williams, who is 13% owned, has been averaging 10, 4, and 5 over the last 30. I will take those numbers. Fuck the ratios. MC Dubs is getting volume. Everybody's injured. I have no idea when Cole Anthony is coming back from this broken rib. There's no, like, I mean, would the Magic like to make the playoffs? Yeah, everybody wants to make the fucking playoffs. Are they going to hurt their young rookie in order to do that? I doubt it. Especially since their other point guard is out for the year. So I think they'll be conservative. Even when Cole Anthony comes back, MCW might keep starting just because of, all the concerns that I just said. He's a guy that will get you across the board stats, except in the ratios. I picked him up in my main dynasty league. This is the one dude that is actually on my team that we've talked about tonight. I love it. I love riding waves like this, like an above average player with tons of minutes and shots and like touching the ball all the time. Let's do this. It's great.
Yeah. He started the last 12 games, 28 minutes per game, 11.6 points, 4.5 boards, 5.7 assists, a stock.
Like that's nice. Yeah. Totally.
I mean, you said what? He's how much? What's his rostership?
He's 13% owned in ESPN.
Oh my God. Remember what I said like 5 minutes ago that you're not finding someone who fills the stat categories and sub 30%? MCW is that guy.
But
you're finding MCW.
Because no one ever remembers A, that he's still in the NBA, or B, why they know his name. And then they're like, oh, he's on Orlando, which is the quietest team. Yeah, well, we can talk about why that happened. But anyway, trust the process, my ass. There's nothing, minutes make everything else grow. Like he's getting tons of water right now on a team with a lot of absences. So you should, I don't even think it's a stream. I think you keep him for the rest of the season, probably, because who knows what's going on with their guards.
Especially if they become sellers at the deadline. Like if they're sellers at the deadline and they're just like, fuck it, we're so injured. We're going to let anyone who's like slightly banged up and who's our future Cole Anthony rest for, they are done for the season. Then it's just going to be the MCW show. And just like the MCU, how successful that was, the MCW is also going to be equally successful.
Like he'll give you the counting stats, and that's really all that you're asking for when you can pick up a dude for free. Like you can't complain about his inefficient shot. So
right.
I feel like this is a no-brainer, really.
I love it. And I know that's not something a lot of people have said about Michael Carter Williams, but you know what?
Yeah.
You love it. You love it. Well, there you go. There are some guys at every kind of ownership tier to be rostering.
Actually, Pete, sorry to interrupt.
Son of a bitch.
I have a heave as well. We're going with
the
real low
logo Dame.
Exactly. Because if these hit, then you look so cool. You just look so cool.
What's your logo Dame?
I have two, actually. The first is Isaiah Stewart on the Pistons, who's been a top 100 player over the past month. He's a rookie. He's a big, The Pistons are one of the sellers. Like, who knows how many other players are going to get jettisoned out of there. But he's like just a few minutes away from averaging a double-double. He will get you like 9 points and 9 boards right now. The Pistons are playing him more than they're playing Sekou Doumbouya, which breaks my heart, but is also kind of nice because he seems like he's better right now. The other guy is Aleksej Pokusevski on Oklahoma City, who is 2.2% rostered. Isaiah Stewart is 4.8% rostered, by the way. So both these guys are free. Pokusevski is also a rookie. He's 19 years old. He's 7 feet tall, and he's a perimeter shooter.
Love it.
So today against Memphis, he really kind of helped them. Like, they might have gotten blown out without him. He had over 20 points. He was 5 from 8 from 3. He's a guy that would benefit a lot from Al Horford getting traded, I think, along with Isaiah Roby, who's another young player for the Thunder in the front court. Pokusevski is rail thin. Like, he might not be able to play 30 minutes a game in this season. But if he can keep his 3-point shot going, then of course they'll just put him out there. Like, why wouldn't you? Let's make things easier for SGA, especially since their outside shooting isn't great, the Thunder. Lou Dort, Hamidou Diallo, who is now in Detroit, and their Oklahoma City's getting Svi Mikhailiuk back. The reason they made that trade is because Svi's supposed to be a perimeter threat. So he has had a slumped year. If he can, snap back into form in Oklahoma City, then that makes things easier for SGA. In the meantime, Pokusevski is maybe like their best outside shooter from what the last 3 games have looked like. Either of those guys are good speculative ads because, again, you're looking for opportunity and minutes, and these teams are getting closer and closer to turning the corner with the trade deadline and just giving all their minutes and shots to the young kids.
Awesome. So now that Natty has completely derailed the show, let's move on.
Plus, second heaves that weren't supposed to make it anyway. I'm just trying.
Polkshevsky is going to be on your waiver wire because no one knows how to spell his name, and thus
Aleksej Pokusevski.
There you go. What a name!
Just look up the Thunder roster.
All right, let's move on to some DFS chatter. We are going to give our studs and duds, which both Natty and I pick one player who we think will perform above average in fantasy this coming week and one who will underperform. Natty, for the first time this year, went 2-0 last time. Yes, you did. 6-4, my man, on the year.
Okay,
not bad.
Okay.
But you have a long ways to go to catch the master. I am a machine. 9-1.
Damn.
I haven't lost since I think like week 2 or week 3. I am just crushing it with my takes. So when you are listening, make sure you pay attention to who I say you should be starting and you should be sitting in DFS this week. Just mute Natty. Ignore everything he said. He already got in his 2 cents with his crazy logo Dame talk. My stud for this week. The finisher is back. Lauri Markkanen is playing the OKC Thunder, San Antonio Spurs, who don't have LaMarcus Aldridge. Detroit at the end of the week, but then also the Denver Nuggets in between San Antonio and Detroit. A very cushy lineup for him. He is back. He's looking good. He's looking healthy. Hasn't cut into my Thaddeus Young shares either, which is very promising. I'm very happy to see that. So yeah, Lauri Markkanen this week.
What the living fuck do the Chicago Bulls do? Like, I feel like the funniest thing would be if they don't make any moves. They just keep everybody.
They're just going to be like, this is what we're riding with now. Fuck it.
Right.
This is our team.
Like, sort of like when the Kings didn't trade Bogdanovich last year or Bielitsa, and everyone was like, well, what are you? Okay.
Are you guys serious right now?
Why are you doing that? Yeah. But the finisher has always been an exciting player because of what we think could be big Dirk-esque potential. That's why I just suggested Pokusevski, because you're looking for 7-footers who can shoot threes. Those guys are pretty rare. And when they're good at it, they're Karl Anthony Towns. So love the finisher, love that he's looking better. I hate the Bulls, but I like a bunch of the players on the roster and I want good things for them. So yeah, I'm fully behind that one.
2 back-to-back 20 plus games out of the break.
That's nice. That's
You
nice.
like it. You like it. Who's your stud this week?
My stud, I'm going for a little bit of volume this week.
Michael
Kyle
Carter
Kuzma.
Williams again?
I know, right? That would be funny. Just double down on it. Kyle Kuzma, who is 46%
Nice.
rostered, gets to play 5 games this week. The Lakers have 5 games this week. They're the only team that has, I believe.
LA.
They are playing the Warriors, the Timberwolves, Charlotte, Atlanta, and Phoenix. Kuzma should get plenty of minutes since Anthony Davis is out for at least a few more weeks. And I have to assume that the Lakers won't play LeBron like 39 minutes 5 times in 1 week.
LeBron plays over under 2.5 of these games.
I think over. I think he'll play in one of the back-to-backs, but maybe not as many minutes, and then rest for 1 game. I could see that. But regardless, like the Lakers need Kuzma right now. Over the last month, he's been great. He's top 125 over the last month, 14 plus points per game, 9 plus boards, an assist. He's taking 5 threes a game, hitting them at 38%. This is a guy, again, with opportunity and minutes and shots. And I really don't think you can beat 5 games. Like, he'll play every game. He'll definitely play every single one of these games. And I think he'll have a big role in at least 1 or 2 of them. So I just love the next week for Kuzma owners. I'm jealous.
I like it. My dud for this week is Draymond Green. The Warriors haven't looked great leading into and coming out of the All-Star week. They play the Lakers, the Rockets, and then the Grizzlies twice this week. So 4 games against solid opponents. And the biggest thing for me about Dre is that you're living or dying by his assists and stocks.
Yes.
If he doesn't get assists, right. If he doesn't get assists, then he's not giving you anything. Out of the break against the Clippers, 12 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, and 3 stocks. So like the stocks, that's nice. That's great. You love to see that. But you know, for a guy who you're relying to get you double-digit assists to be a reliable fantasy contributor, I don't love that in this matchup, in these matchups, and especially with the Warriors. Not super healthy, you know. He can only really dime up Steph because everyone else is injured, and 2 because they have been not great as of late. So,
who are they playing again this week? Sorry,
the Lakers, Rockets, and then Grizzlies twice.
Right. So that's 4 games, but yeah, I mean, like if Dre, because it's weird. I do sort of feel like when I watch, Dre has looked better recently, but like you say, you know, the Warriors are in a bit of a tough stretch, and you know, he's supposed to be the second best player on the team, right? So if he's not living up to that, then the team probably isn't doing that well. And it's just so hard to trust everybody except Steph. So yeah, I think that's a good dud.
Thank you kindly. All right, who's yours for the week?
My dud. Oh, before I forgot, speaking of Houston, sorry, everybody, just to back up 1 second.
God.
Not a second stud, but just a reminder, the Rockets are selling. Like they're jettisoning pieces. PJ Tucker won't play for them again. They agreed with that. Oladipo already turned down an extension. Eric Gordon is now going to be out for several weeks at least. There's no reason for them to not start trading left and right. One of the guys they won't be trading, though, is Jayshawn Tate. So he is a top 150 player over the past month. He's under 15% owned, rostered rather. I think he's going to have more minutes and a larger role going forward. So that's a guy you should add to your watch list. My dud is
just
on
taking
Cleveland.
us all over the place, Natty.
I know, I'm sorry.
Back and forth, up and down, left and right. My goodness.
But like Houston, like this is one of the teams that you expect to make a lot of moves before the trade deadline, which is March 25th. So that's a team you need to keep your eye on.
Totally.
The Cavaliers play Miami, Boston, San Antonio, and Toronto this week.
Yikes.
That's some tough
It
guard
starts brutally.
play. Darius Garland, who is 78% rostered and is the point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers, is my dud for the week. I just think that that's a really tough week for young guards. I mean, Marcus Smart is going to
he's
slap
back.
him around.
He's back, baby.
Yeah, 19 points in his first game. That's nice
Love
to see.
to see it.
Like, they have to play DeJounte Murray. They have to play Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry, a pissed off Kyle Lowry who doesn't seem to like all these trade rumors, and the Heat. So Garland is a little banged up anyway. Kevin Love is recently back, and maybe that will take a second for him to acclimate to, just figuring out a new player in a new offensive scheme. I just think it's really tough. I like Garland a lot. I would like to have him on my team. He is in our fake teams. He is on my team in our fake teams league. But that's such a tough matchup this week. So he's my dud.
I like
don't
that. That's
drop him. Just don't expect him to be lights out.
Yeah, that's a good call. It is a tough stretch for him. Excellent. Well, there you go. Look at all that good content. We took the fantasy content that you were hankering for and we thrust it into the forefront, and let us know what you think. Is this what we should be doing rolling forward? I think so.
And keep your eyes on all the bigs that are out there. I mean, the trade deadline is March 25th, like I said. Here's just a handful of the people that are out there that are, probably going to change teams. PJ Tucker, Andre Drummond, LaMarcus Aldridge, Boogie, maybe Depot, Al Horford, maybe Wiggins. Like, there's not really a defensive stopper in there, which is sort of what teams want right now, I think. But there's a lot of bigs and a lot of names that are available, or that are in rumors at least. So a guy like Boogie, who's probably not on anyone's roster, like, put him on your watch list. If he gets on a team with a big role, you're going to want him immediately.
Yep. Awesome. Well, make sure you subscribe to the Fake Teams podcast wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. That's how you'll not only get us, but also our fantasy baseball and our fantasy football shows. Follow us on Twitter at the Long2 Podcast, and you'll want to make sure you follow us so that you can hear Natty's live reaction when the Boston Celtics trade one measly second-round pick for Jeremy Grant and take away the only player that Natty has ever loved from his Detroit Pistons. Natty, until next week, stay safe, my friend.
I don't want to lose Jeremy Grant. Have a good one, man. Whatever. I love Melo more.